Humanity spent centuries dreaming about connection. We wanted to reach across distance, across time, to feel less alone in the universe. And then we built the internet, handed everyone a device and solved it. Except we didn't. Because the first thing millions of people did with infinite connection was open an app at 2 a.m. and scroll through strangers' highlight reels and feel worse about their own lives than they did before they picked up the phone. We got exactly what we said we wanted, and somehow it made the emptiness louder. That gap between what connection promised and what it actually delivers is the defining psychological tension of this generation. And if you felt it, you're not broken. You're just paying attention. Here's what makes this addiction different from every other one. Nobody hides it. You don't sneak your phone into a bathroom stall out of shame. You check it at the dinner table, in the middle of a conversation, at a funeral, and nobody flinches, because everyone around you is doing the exact same thing. This is the only addiction that comes with a follower count, that gets you rewarded for going deeper in. Psychologists call this variable ratio reinforcement. The same mechanism behind slot machines. Every scroll is a pull of the lever. Sometimes nothing, sometimes dopamine. And the most dangerous part, when the whole world is addicted together, it stops looking like addiction. It just looks like life. You know this person. You might be this person. There's the one who reaches for their phone before they're even fully awake, screen brightness cutting through the dark, algorithm already running before a single conscious thought has formed. There's the one who spent 20 minutes finding the right words for a moment that lasted 10 seconds. Because somehow, if it isn't framed right, it didn't quite happen. And then there's the one who puts the phone down with real intention and picks it back up 4 minutes later without knowing why. No notification, no reason, just reflex. 3 different people, one shared pull, and none of them are doing it wrong. They're just responding to something that was designed to feel impossible to resist. But before we go any further, we need to reframe something. Because if you've ever tried to put your phone down and failed, if you've set screen time limits you ignored, deleted apps you reinstalled, promised yourself just 5 minutes and lost an hour, you probably blamed yourself, your willpower, your discipline, your inability to just stop. That blame is wrong, and it's been wrong the whole time. This was never about willpower. It was never about who you are as a person. What you're dealing with is the predictable result of billion-dollar behavioral engineering meeting the oldest psychological needs a human being has. By the end of this, the behavior won't just make sense. You will make sense. Picture this. It's 7 p.m., dinner is done, the dishes are handled, and for the first time all day, there's nothing you have to do. An hour, maybe more, that belongs entirely to you. So you sit down, pick up your phone, just for a second. 45 minutes later, you surface, and something feels off. Not tired exactly, not relaxed either, just hollow, mildly agitated in a way you can't quite name. You try to remember what you even looked at. A video, some posts, a comment thread you don't care about. Nothing that mattered, nothing that stayed. The rest you needed never came. The hour is gone, and the strange part, you didn't even enjoy it. But tomorrow night, the phone comes out again, at the same time, in the same chair, like a ritual nobody chose. That's not laziness, that's a loop. And loops have a reason. Here's what most people never find out, and once you know it, you can't unknow it. The engineers who built these platforms have said it themselves in interviews, in testimonies, in books written after they walked away. This wasn't designed to be useful. It was designed to be inescapable. They borrowed a mechanism straight from behavioral psychology, the same one that makes slot machines so effective. It's called a variable reward schedule. Not every spin pays out. Not every spin pays out. Not every scroll delivers something meaningful. But sometimes it does. And that unpredictability is precisely the point. Research in psychology suggests that irregular, unpredictable rewards activate the dopamine system far more powerfully than consistent ones. The uncertainty is the hook. You weren't weak, you were targeted by some of the most sophisticated behavioral engineering ever deployed at scale. That's not an excuse, but it is the truth. And the truth is where agency begins. Here's what's actually happening when you feel that pull toward your phone before you've even decided to pick it up. Your brain is not weak. It is ancient. And it is running software that was written hundreds of thousands of years ago, in a world where knowing where you stood socially wasn't a preference, it was survival. Whether the group accepted you, whether the people around you approved, whether you were valued or expendable, that information determined whether you ate, whether you were protected, whether you lived. Your nervous system evolved to scan for social signals the way it scans for physical danger, constantly, automatically, without asking your permission. Social media didn't create that system. It just learned how to speak its language. Every notification, every like, every comment, your brain processes these as social survival data, not metaphorically, neurologically. The anxiety you feel around an unread message, the compulsive check after posting something, the deflation when the response doesn't come, that isn't vanity. That is your nervous system genuinely believing something important is at stake. The problem isn't that you care too much. The problem is that ancient circuitry is now being triggered by an environment it was never designed to navigate. You are a biological system built for a village of 150 people, trying to process the social weight of thousands of digital signals every single day. That's not a character flaw, that's a mismatch. And understanding that mismatch is the first step to no longer being controlled by it. But here's what nobody talks about. It's not just the hours. It's the book you haven't been able to finish in 2 years, because your brain now requires a new stimulus every 8 seconds. It's a meal you photographed before you tasted it. The sunset you watched through a screen instead of through your eyes. The moment that happened, and then immediately became content. It's the quiet Sunday afternoon that should feel peaceful, but instead feels unbearable. So you reach for the phone, not because anything is there, but because your nervous system no longer knows how to sit with itself, and underneath all of it, the scrolling, the comparing, the performing, there's a loneliness that gets louder the more connected your feed looks. Research in psychology suggests that passive social media consumption is directly linked to decreased life satisfaction, not because your life got worse, because your perception of it did. That's what it's actually costing you. Here's the paradox no one talks about. The people most lost in their phones are often the ones most hungry for real human contact. The scroll isn't about content, it never was. It's about connection, misdirected, algorithmically exploited, but real in its origin. Every refreshment is a question, does anyone see me? Every notification is a temporary answer to a permanent need. Psychologists describe belonging as one of the most fundamental human drives, and social media didn't create that hunger. It just handed you a vending machine and called it a feast. So here's the reframe. You're not addicted to your phone. You're a deeply social human being living in an era that monetized your loneliness before you even knew it existed. The need is not the problem. The tool was just never equal to it.